Well, hello there, I'm Terry Duke and welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you my experience as a vampire in Bannerlord, specifically a vampire necromancer in the Old Realms mod for Bannerlord. About 2 months ago I gave the Old Realms a try. The Old Realms is, I would say, the most ambitious total conversion mod currently available for Bannerlord, and although not even close to being finished, it is nonetheless giving the best Dwarven mods a run for their money, as it's undoubtedly one of the best mods I ever played. Now, about a month after I released this video, the Old Realms got an update, and I decided I'd take this opportunity to try out a vampire build, the only non-human race currently playable. And so in this video, this is the story of my life as a vampire in Bannerlord. Let's do this. So, getting a vampire is fairly easy. You have to pick Sylvania as your starting faction, and then in the background story options, you get to choose whether you received the blood gift from a vampire, which barely alters your appearance at all. Oh my. Now, as a vampire in the Old Realms, the rules are a bit different, the main one being that vampires can raise the dead. You can go into any town and you will see a graveyard in which you can spend a few hours raising skeletons for your party, and it is very cost effective. Now, skeletons are not only pretty cool, but they don't need food, which is another cost effective bonus. The only weakness the undead have is that they don't get wounded, they can only die. That said, because you're a necromancer, replenishing your ranks is fairly easy, as you will always get a pool of fresh skeletons from the losers of your battles. And so, as a vampire, you have the unique ability to essentially recycle corpses, and there's both an incentive to raise the dead and send them at the full like a Zerg rush, because who cares how many die, you'll immediately replenish them when you win, which overall is pretty awesome. So that's exactly what I did. From graveyard to graveyard, and from battle to battle, my vampire grew ever stronger. Not fast enough for my taste though. At this point I'm not looking for a regular playthrough, I just want to find out everything else that the vampires can do. So I decided to accelerate the process by giving myself all the attribute and focus points I need via the console to level up quickly. I also decided to shop for the best looking gear possible via the cheat menu and landed on this stuff. Looking good. But I especially wanted to level up the magic. We have to know what the most powerful vampires can do with magic. So I bought a bunch of spells for a magister, and then I even learned the dark magic lore, and bought a bunch of spells from that as well. So now that I have a vampire that is already fully leveled up with an army of the undead and all the most powerful spells we can imagine, what have we got? So far, I gotta say, being a vampire in Bannerlord, it's so awesome. But at this point though, I was no longer content with mere bandits. Now it's time to carve my own kingdom. But where? In the Empire? Nah, it's too easy. I decided to show my supremacy to my fellow vampires by attacking them without warning. And that's it. Off to where I went. Lords after lords, they all fell before me. Now, lords do have spells too, and they did use them against my army, but to no avail. I overwhelmed them all through sheer numbers. I started recruiting vampires and upgrading them to elite cavalry. Then I marched my army to Castle Dragonhof of all places. With a garrison of 800 against my mere 280, I decided to bombard the city and starve the garrison out. But, just as I was ready to assault, the vampire armies finally came back together to attack me. Puny fools, rows after rows of men, dead or alive, they are no match for my flying skull. And then the game crashed. I don't care though. Upon relaunching the game, to avoid the same issue, I decided to attack the town a bit prematurely before the lords could attack me, and so while I was still mildly outnumbered, I used my spells to create breaches in the garrison defenses. And as my troops stormed in, it pretty much became a slaughter on both sides. However, this is a good time to talk about vampire jumps. They are ridiculous, but I love them. Let's try and get that one. Come on, come on. Oh, yeah, that was so good. Turns out I can even cast spells mid-jump. Check this out. Now, come on. This is so badass. And finally, after some hard fighting, the town was now mine. So let's add to the garrison, and then replenish ourselves from recruiting to villages, raiding some more dead, etc, etc. Alright, my castle is secure, I have my own army. Time to attack another castle. Whoa! Damn! Okay. It would seem that the vampire counts have had enough of me. They are amassing a massive army, and they're headed straight for Dragonhof. So all I could really do to prepare is attack as many lords as I could on the way to make sure they couldn't team up, and then I ran back to the castle with more troops just in time for the siege. 500 against 3,400. Now how bad could that possibly go? Well, pretty bad as it turns out. You see, lords have spells too, and when there's like 15 of them, they can just bombard the crap out of the walls with spells, and within 5 minutes they had killed like 2/3 of the garrison. I struck back, of course, like I went in with my horse and I threw a bunch of spells at the enemies and I killed over 200 of them, not nearly enough to stop them, and I was already depleted. So following this magical skirmish, they just stormed in, and we fought bravely, but we could only do so much. There simply wasn't any way to kill so many damn waves of skeletons and vampires. Or was there? Just as I became the last fighter standing, surrounded on all sides, I realized that mana was actually regenerating through fighting and using the vampire's special ability. What ability is that? The ability to turn into a swarm of bats, which makes you unable to fight, but also invincible, and then you can just fly in any direction. Not only does it work really well, it is probably the biggest exploit for escaping a large group of enemies. So let me get this straight, I can fly from the walls to the ground and back, avoiding all the enemies while simultaneously regaining mana for spellcasting? Well, that's interesting. So here's what I did. The NPCs aren't too smart, so I would get to the edge of the wall, and just as I was getting surrounded, I would jump off the wall. The super legs mean I take no damage, and then I run around the trenches, killing the archers. By the time the main force gets back down from the walls, out the gate and onto me, I would fly back to the wall, even manage a few shots with the ballista, and whenever I had enough mana for a deadly spell, I would let loose. Rinse and repeat is exactly what I did. Initially I was just having fun, but it actually became ridiculously effective, and every time I killed an entire wave with a spell, it would increase my athletic skill, so after a while I was running fast enough that nobody could catch up. Even the enemies had a ballista, so after a while I would be flying from one ballista in the field to a ballista on the wall, and I would land a few shots on both sides, then fly away, then cast a spell. And so wave after wave after wave after wave. 1 hour of waves, nearly 3,000 dead. At this point I was like, you know what? Why not? Doesn't matter that my army's all dead, I'll have 3,000 corpses to replenish it from, and there's only a few waves left, so I might as well get on with it and finish this. But again, my abuse of power, my cheating, it was all too much, and the game got fed up with me, once again. I was tempted to go back and try the siege again, but for the sake of this video, I think we've seen plenty of what it's like to be a vampire in one of the best mods ever made for Bannerlord. But who knows, maybe there will be a part 2. But for now, that's it for today. If you want to try the mod out, the link is in the description, make sure to follow the instructions on how to install it. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check the rest of my content, also join my Discord, etc, etc. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.